Hey guys, welcome to No Filters, Just Freedom, the show for people who are ready to stop shrinking, start rising, and live with unapologetic audacity. My name is Jasmine, I'm a life coach, and I'm here to guide us all through this journey of bold, authentic living.
Welcome back, everybody, to No Filters, Just Freedom. And today we are tackling how to fight without bringing up that thing from 2017 and other small miracles. This is the episode where we admit that conflict is messy, but dredging up ancient history doesn't have to be our default setting, where we learn to argue like mature adults instead of a sleep-deprived toddler with a grudge. Because let's be real, we've all been there. What starts as a "can you please not leave wet towels on the bed" somehow spirals into "and another thing, you forgot our anniversary in 2019. So as a recovering but remember when you offender, I'm here to help us all fight fair, not exhaustingly. Today we're going to talk about how to fight forward, not backward, why winning an argument is often losing the relationship, and a learned magical phrase that diffuses 90% of conflicts. So here we go. Bringing up old stuff is like emotional time travel, then using that history in the fight is like using a flamethrower to light a candle. It's overkill and dangerous. But here's why we do it. You have what we call the ammo theory. When we're feeling overwhelmed, or we're feeling unheard, or if we feel like we're losing an argument, we have saved up all of these things and we use them like limited edition collectibles. We are just trying to make sure that, again, we have enough ammo, we have enough arsenal in our gauge to win and prove our point. But again, like I said before, winning an argument often means losing the relationship. What good is winning a moment when it kills the unit, which we've talked about before? It's got to be about we, not me. So when you are trying to bring up things from the past and make sure that you have as much offense and not as much defense, you get what we call the ammo theory, because you are feeling overwhelmed and unheard. A second reason we do it is because of emotional triggers. Things like fear, resentment, or insecurity drive the urge to just rehash everything from the past. If somebody says one thing and it reminds you of the hurt that you felt 6 months ago, and you bring it back up. When your partner says something that reminds you of a childhood trauma that you had that you haven't quite worked through, and then they keep saying it, all of a sudden you explode with not just the emotion that you have in this fight, but then you explode with all of the emotion that you've had for the entire fights and every time anybody has said those words to you. You live in this place of, if I don't win, if I don't prove my point, then I'm afraid that they're going to keep hurting me. I'm insecure about how or where I stand in this situation, in this relationship, and so we weaponize the past. A third thing that we can do, or we realize we're weaponizing the past, is because we have unfinished business. That thing from 2017 that still hurts, well, we never resolved it. You know, when you get to a situation and, maybe the fight is too heated, or you both decide, okay, we're not going anywhere, we're not making any progress in this moment, so let's table this discussion. We'll come back to it, calm, cool, and collected, and we'll move forward. The problem is that while all of that has great intentions, so many of us don't go back to the conversation. So many of us have this philosophy of let sleeping dogs lie. And then because it was unresolved, next thing you know, the next time something reminds you of that thing, you bring it back up like, oh, because we never dealt with that and you were still wrong for X, Y, and Z. It is something that I struggle with in my marriage all the time, specifically because my husband and I are two very different people, and I'm an aggressive fighter and he is a passive fighter. And so sometimes I can get out of control. Sometimes I am shooting off everywhere, fireworks happening everywhere, and I need to calm down. I need to reel it back. I need to calm down, and he needs time to figure out why this matters so much when to him it's not that deep. So we go our separate ways, we calm down, we get it together. But life gets busy, work, kid, everything else, and you just never go back to it because, okay, we've made the peace, it's comfortable. Why bring up something that's going to cause more conflict? But the problem is, because we actually never dealt with that thing 6 months later, now we're like, why are we still here? Why am I going around this mountain again? It's something my dad used to tell me, and I say it to my friends all the time. which is like, how many times do you want to walk around this mountain? Like, how many times? Like, when are you going to decide that enough is enough and you're actually going to move past this? And so much of moving past it is handling unfinished business. Like, yes, it can be uncomfortable. Yes, it's annoying. Yes, it takes up a lot of your time. But guess what? It needs to happen. It needs to be a situation where, okay, cool, I have an ability to come back to what we're doing as an adult, as a mature person, and we can find some sort of commonality, some sort of compromise, so that 6 months to a year from now, we don't have to bring this back up as if we haven't actually found resolution. Fourth thing for why we might weaponize our past is a distraction tactic. We might not have to deal with the real issue because of it. We might not actually have to deal with the reason why this started. I don't want to say sorry for dropping the wet towel on the bed. So what I'm gonna do is talk about all the times that you've done something that gets on my nerves. Well, you don't want me to do this, but how about when you start doing these things to me? Somehow you want me to be different, but you don't want to be different. Distraction. Instead of actually focusing on the thing that makes you uncomfortable, that maybe creates insecurity or whatever it is, you completely move on and point the issue in the opposite direction to take off blame. It's lazy fighting. It's easier to yell, "You always," than it is to articulate what's actually bothering us now. My dad used to say, it's always never anything. And while there are some things that do get on my nerve when it comes to that, there is something to be said about that in arguments, in fighting. You cannot use that many absolutes in an argument and think it's gonna be okay. You can't not deal with the moment. Whoever is in the situation take responsibility or whatever else. Like, you can't ignore the importance and just talk about the things that make you happy, make you feel comfortable, or the things that you think you might win on. It's just not how that works. Like I said, it's lazy. It's lazy, it's disrespectful, it's tiring to not fight the actual fight, because again, it goes back to unfinished business. You're gonna have to deal with it at some point. Otherwise, it's going to keep rearing its ugly head. So whether or not you choose to ignore it today and distract from it, in any way you want, tomorrow that thing will show back up. It always does. So rather than a distraction technique, we might as well just face it head on so we don't have to do it again later. The final thing that we do when we weaponize the past is we have the scorecard delusion, where we think that listing past wrongs means winning the argument. It does not. Well, you did this and you did this, and every time you did this to me, so that means that what I'm telling you right now is true and is valid. Absolutely not. What does that have to do with the price of tea in China? Like, two things can be right at the same time. They might have failed in these situations and you can still be wrong. It can both happen. And your level of wrongness in the moment has nothing to do with how many times they were wrong last week. That's not how that works. How we take responsibility, how we fight, how we deal with things in our relationships has nothing to do with what other people have done to us in the past, or the things that people fall short in doing. I don't get to look at my friend and be like, oh, I ignored your phone call because you ignored mine last week and I wanted you to know how it felt. It's just not healthy. It doesn't build bonds. It doesn't create relationships. And hindsight 2020, all you do is laugh at that. You just laugh at that silly thought process of and I actually thought that was gonna make it work. I actually thought that was gonna help me win the argument to prove my point. It doesn't work, okay? Spoiler alert, it often just leads to sleeping on the couch. Because let me tell you something right now. If I'm trying to say something to my husband and he wants to rattle off all of the things that I have done wrong that he has noticed in the last I don't know how many days, especially because my love language is words of affirmation, well, you can't stay here with me. If you think there's so many things wrong that I've done, you must not want to be with me. So there is a perfectly good couch we paid for. There are plenty of pillows. The dog is out there. He will love you too. Don't come at me with that. And I'm not the only one. And other husbands and partners in general aren't the only ones. You can't just rattle off things that people do wrong to hurt you and then think that something good is going to happen from that. You catch more flies with honey than vinegar. So stop pissing people off and rattling off their failures, thinking it's somehow going to help you win an argument. It's not going to work. But remember when I said that there is a magical phrase that can diffuse some of these conflicts? Here's the magic wand. I want to focus on what's happening now. Can we talk about that? I'm going to say it again. You look at a situation, you say, I want to focus on what's happening now. Can we talk about that? It's a gentle redirection, not a shutdown. Okay? Because again, when you get caught up emotionally, when you start thinking about things that are coming up from the past, whether or not it was a trigger, unfinished business, X, Y, and Z, you lose sight of the original reason you started this conversation. You lose sight over the original ask. Okay? If the original ask was, I don't like it when you put wet towels on our bed, that should be the conversation, not anything else. And so when you start feeling yourself reverting back to something else, hey, I want to focus on what's happening right now. I don't want to talk about what happened last week. I don't want to talk about who hurt who and the last time the dishes were done and the trash wasn't taken out even though you promised you would. I'm going to talk about this wet towel on my bed. It forces specificity. Today versus always, okay? I want to talk about how this happened, not you always make my life more difficult. You always leave this wet towel here. You always take it from the bathroom and it's too much. It's overwhelming. It just compiles onto whatever and you're not actually fixing the problem, which is, hey, I don't like it when you do this because it makes the bed wet or it makes things smell or because honestly, I just don't like it. Why are you taking the towel out of the bathroom and not putting it back? Like, these are things that you can discuss. These are things that you can talk about. These are things that you can actually handle without feeling like you have to rehash everything to prove the point of, I don't want you to put this on the bed. And you can do it in a calm manner and you don't have to worry about this stuff. It's hard to argue with someone who's trying to solve something instead of putting points on a scoreboard, because then you feel out of control and crazy. If somebody is calm, cool, and collected and is like, let's talk about right now, the other person that's out of control not only sees that they're out of control, but now has to force themselves to reel it back. It's very, very hard to fight when two people aren't fighting. You can't really have a one-sided fight. And so if somebody has the wherewithal to remain calm, cool, and collected and say, hey, I want to focus on what's happening right now, it can change dynamics. And anybody can do it. Because my husband, 90% of the time, is the calm and cool, collected one. He's the one that's not raising his voice. He's the one that is in the moment and is like trying to process and letting me just vent and everything else. But he also isn't always the one that says that phrase. Sometimes I can feel myself getting caught up. And I'm like, you know what? I just want to focus on what's happening right now. Like, help me focus on what's happening right now. And it's in that moment that I've reeled it back and he's already calm that we can actually have productive conversation. We're not perfect at it. We don't often do it the first time, which is why sometimes you got to come back around to it. But it really can save so much time, so many arguments, and heal so many relationships. You just focus on what's happening in the moment and talk about that. So here's also a 24-hour rule. What if we fought about things while they were still relevant? It's a crazy revolutionary idea. If it happened today, we're gonna talk about it today. If something bothers you, address it within 24 hours or let it go forever. No, but remember in 2017 when you is not a valid rebuttal in 2025. It's not how that works. If something is bothering you and you really need to discuss it now, because I want to focus on what's happening now. Can we talk about that? And if you're able to not say anything about it and more than a day goes by, then it wasn't important enough for you to talk about it anyway. That's how that works. If it doesn't bother you enough to say something in the moment, then it didn't bother you enough at all. And that helps you not only not have to worry about the ammo theory where we're just holding things because we're overwhelmed. It not only fixes the unfinished business issue of, oh, we have to go back to something we never finished. There's nothing to finish if I let it go. And why am I keeping score on something that doesn't matter? I mean, you're knocking out 3 of 5 problems of why we can weaponize our past by, again, being able to focus on what's happening now and then talk about it. And now is within 24 hours. My husband and I have a rule where we do 24 to 36 hours depending on his job, because what we don't do is we will not fight in text message or on the phone. We won't do it. You fight in person or you don't fight at all. That is a long time coming rule that we've had to create through the years of our marriage. If we can't fight in person, we don't fight at all. So then I have to decide, is this worth fighting about when he comes home? He has a limited amount of time at home before he has to go back to work for a full day. Is this worth wasting our time over? Or is it something that I can just move on and let go? And that's something I have to work out in myself. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. But it gives you an opportunity to prioritize and put first things first. But here's the warning. The first time you use this, your brain will scream, but they need to know about 2017. No, they don't. Stay strong, okay? Fight the original habit. It's crazy. They talk about this all the time. It takes 21 days to change a habit. But crazy thing is it only takes 3 to destroy one. So you can create a habit. It just might take you a minute, but you can break the cycle very quickly. You just have to remember what to say. Hey, I want to focus on what's happening now. Can we talk about that? But what do you do when the past really does need to be discussed? You can start with figuring out if this is a pattern or it's a one-off. You have to spot a legitimate unresolved issue versus a cheap shot. Okay, is this a continual theme or is this just something that gets on my nerves? Because if it's just something that gets on your nerves, then you can communicate that, but you don't have to keep score of every time they do something that gets on your nerves. You just don't have to. My husband likes the way certain things are folded and put away. And I honestly don't care in the sense of I don't care how things are folded as long as they're folded and put away. That's just, Now I have a problem with when you put things away in the wrong area. So we both had to figure out whether or not this was something to fight about or this was just kind of like a one-off thing. We had to just be So instead of fighting about how things are folded or where things are put, we have conversations about, did the clothes make it to the hamper? I don't even care how that happened. Did the clothes make it to the hamper? Hey, I appreciate the fact that you folded the clothes. Can you put them away? Don't just leave them on the bed. We have to actually have productive conversations, not the one-offs that are I don't like the way you did that. And most of the time when you talk about patterns, it's something that shows up in so many areas of other aspects of your life. Okay? I don't like it when you don't put the clothes away because for me, it's another example of how you managed to not finish what you started. And that is going to be a problem for me. That is going to be a real issue. If you can't finish what you start, then don't do it at all. That's what I believe. That's how I function and things like that. I have to find nice ways of saying that. I can't just come off bat and be and this is why you have to do. No, not important, not necessary. So again, ask for examples. Okay, you can say, hey, is this a situation that just happened or is this a moment that needs to go back and forth? Okay, this is when you use examples to figure out, is this something continual that needs to change or am I just upset about this one thing? The second thing that you can figure out when the past really does need to be discussed is the right way to revisit it. Sometimes you have to schedule conversations, not ambushes, okay? This was a huge, huge problem for me because I am a person that likes to focus on what's happening in the moment. If you make me mad right now, I'm going to tell you about it right now. You said something that pissed me off, and now I'm going to tell you right after you finished your statement that you made me mad. I'm not going to wait. I'm not passive. I am very aggressive in your face, okay? That being said, there is a time and a place for everything, and you cannot always ambush people like that. I've said it in the past. My husband works a 24-hour job, okay? It's a 24-hour shift. When he comes home at 7 in the morning, that is not the time to have an argument with him about something he said that pissed me off. That's it. He cannot come home after working that hard with zero decompression to have me be mad at him and have a fight in his face. Timing wrong. Schedule it. We might not fight via text message or phone call, but we sure will schedule something. In a heartbeat, we will schedule something. And we'll do what I had talked about in the past about sandwich conversations, where you start with something good, you start with something positive, you do all these other things, you value those moments, you say the thing that's really important to you that needs to be discussed, and then you close it off with another positive thing, okay? So I can call him, see how his day is going, see how he's feeling, what's going on. Hey, not only did I just want to hear about your day because I love you, but also I really want to set time to schedule this thing. It's very, very important to me. And then from that moment, you then get to, but I don't want you to feel like we have to rush it. I want you to know that I still care and value about you. You know what I'm saying? It's like positive, not necessarily a negative, positive, hard thing, positive. Sandwich makes it easier to swallow, okay? You have to find the right timing to revisit something. And then you have to decide whether there's forgiveness or not. You're deciding when to let go of something versus when it's a deal breaker. And forgiveness implies a clean slate, okay? It means you're starting from scratch. Like we're not gonna hold on to it. We're not gonna come back to it. We're not gonna keep score. We're starting from scratch. You can do this thing called the amnesia drill. Pretend the relationship started yesterday emotionally, okay? We're not talking about forgetting birthdays, anniversaries. We're not talking about that. But you can start each day or each week as if it's the first time you were with that person. When you're first with somebody, you have grace, you have love, everything is a lot easier. We're not talking about when you get real comfortable and start showing your ugly self. Not talking about that. We're talking about when it first happens, you're in that honeymoon phase, everything is great. That's how you keep it fresh. That's how you say, you know what? I'm gonna believe the best out of this person, and this is how we're gonna pull this off. Okay, you give your perspective is set in, will this matter in 5 years? Am I fighting about something that is really going to be worth the battle in the future? And if it's not, forgive it and let go. But if you look and say, you know, I can't get over this. I can't pretend it's not there. I can't wipe this from the slate. And this will matter to me in 5 years. Ergo, it's a deal breaker. That's a value. That's a priority. Nobody is asking you to walk away from your values and your priorities and your standards and your boundaries. Okay? It is possible to not weaponize the past while still holding on to your boundaries. Okay? And if you need to hold that boundary, if you need to make sure that stays where it belongs, then feel free to do that. Because again, when something is a deal breaker, it is important to talk about that right now. Again, we use the 24-hour rule. You say, hey, I want to focus on what's happening right now. And right now we're in a space that could make or break our relationship. That's that conversation. And again, you can still do everything we're talking about here, but now you're like, this is gonna matter. This matters to me in the future. This again is a pattern. It's not a one-off. This is a, hey, we need to schedule it, but we need to schedule this right now. This cannot wait. No, we cannot have this conversation 2 days from now. No, we can't put it behind other things. We need to start with this. And from the way we handle this conversation will dictate how we handle things in the future. That is heavy. That is hard. That is not how you want to handle things, because it's a lot easier to just pretend like it's not there, but it's important to maintain boundaries when you're working through not bringing up the past. Because again, emotional triggers, things hurt, and no one is telling you to pretend like things don't hurt. Nobody's telling you to pretend like these things never happen and you let people get away with murder. Totally not what we're fighting for here. We're talking about all of the ways that need to be paid attention to and functioned with in order to have your healthy relationship of not bringing up the past when that past is unnecessary. Okay? But what do you do when folks just won't let it go? What do you do if you're in a situation, in a friendship, in a partnership, or whatever else, where that other person just will not let the past go? If your partner keeps resurrecting past fights like it's some sort of dramatic zombie, you can say things like, I hear you're still hurt about that. How can we resolve it now so we don't keep revisiting it? Things like that not only work in fights, but they work with everything else. You can create that kind of a pattern and habit in every other area. My husband and I do that with money, okay? Like our monthly budget. We sit there and go, okay, I can see that this was a problem. I can see that how we spent money this way hurt us. What can we do about it now? How can we resolve it now so we don't have to keep revisiting this financial purchase? It's crazy how you can, okay, I see that you didn't like what I bought from the grocery store. I see you, I hear you. How can I resolve that so we don't have to have another conversation about what I bought from the grocery store? You can use this in every area of your life, okay? We're fighting about something, it hurts your feelings. I can hear that you're still hurt. How can we resolve it right now so we don't have to revisit it again later? Okay. But then if they persist and keep going, you have to look at them sometimes and go, I can't change the past, but I can focus on doing better right now. So I'm trying to diffuse the situation. I'm trying to get you to understand that I only have what I have. I can only be the best version of myself today. I can't fix what I've done in the past. I can't make up for what I've done, but I can make an active effort in this moment that I am fully aware of a situation to be better. And that's what you're hoping for. A person that wants to find resolution, a person that wants to be heard, but also not feel like crap anymore and wants to heal, wants to hear that, hey, I apologize for what happened in the past. I can't do anything about it, but what I can do is be better from here on out. That should diffuse a situation. And if it doesn't, if every fight becomes the greatest hit of your failures, like a compilation, then you might want to try couples therapy over rehashing 2017's drama. And worst case scenario, that might not just be the relationship for you. You might not need that friend in your life. You might not need that coworker. You might need to find a healthier job space. You might need to find a different roommate. You might have to end that romantic relationship. You cannot keep putting yourself out there with someone that refuses to forgive and heal and think it's gonna work itself out. It takes two to tango. And so both parties have to want to fight fair. Both parties want to have to act like adults. Both parties are going to want to have to be the best version of themselves. One person can't do it all, okay? So here's the truth. Conflict isn't the enemy. Recycling conflict is. The past will always be there, but your relationship deserves the present. So here's your challenge. Next fight, try fairness and not judgment. Arguing doesn't mean you're bad at relationships. It means you're in one. So tell me about your wins or the times you maybe needed to be a little less messy, and you can message me or tag me on Instagram at breathe_easy_coaching or on TikTok at lifecoach_Jasmine. Now go forth, fight clean, and for the love of God, let 2017 rest in peace.
Remember, you don't need permission to be great. And this is your call to rise, to reclaim your power, and to step boldly into the life you were meant to live. I believe extraordinary potential lives in all of us. The dreams we've tucked away, the voice that was softened, and the fire that's been waiting to burn bright. This journey isn't about fitting into someone else's mold. It's about shattering expectations and embracing your truest, most unapologetic self. No more shrinking or waiting for permission. The world needs your brilliance, your resilience, and your unique light. It's time to stop asking, am I enough? And start declaring, I am more than enough. Your next chapter begins now. Let's write it with courage, audacity, and unshakable belief in who you are. The unstoppable person isn't born, they're awakened. And that person is you. Now go start your revolution. This world needs your unshaken light today.